Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 31st of May. Today we have a lot of updates, so let's start. And today we will start from the Kharkiv area. Kharkiv area is located on the north from the Donbas occupation. This is the town that located on the south from the Belgorod. This is the town, the Russian Federation town. So this is the Kharkiv. And a few weeks ago, I gave you my own opinion about the Kharkiv operation, about the Ukrainian offensive operation towards the Russian border. I told you that I think that that wasn't a kind of offensive operation. I told you that the Russians, at the beginning of the special military operation, established control over this blue-gray territory. All this territory was under the Russian control, this area. And they reached the city. But after that, they couldn't establish control over the city. The Russians were planning, thought that Ukrainians will give up and they will give them the city. But it didn't happen. And as you can see, the Russians were almost on the edge of the city. This is the territory that was under the Russians. And the thing is that after the Russians understood that they couldn't establish control over the town, they start shelling this town. And we saw a lot of videos and pictures about those shellings, and it was horrible and terrible. But those shellings didn't brought the necessary effect that the Russians were expecting. First of all, because this is a very big town, there's a lot of very big buildings, and the Ukrainians were hiding their equipment among these buildings. So that's why I told you that the Russians decided to retreat from this area to the north, in this area. And now they're controlling this territory. And the Ukrainians, they left this town, and moved after the Russians. And during the previous months, during the previous next weeks, the Ukrainians established control over entire this gray-blue line, this gray-blue territory. We saw some pictures, some videos that even on some part of the border between the Russian Federation and the Ukraine, the Ukrainian forces managed to reach the border and establish their flag. So we can say that the picture is very beautiful and so on, but the truth is that the main idea of the Russians in this operation was to force Ukrainians to leave the town. And as soon as Ukrainians left the town, and as soon as Ukrainians established control over the ruined towns, these Cherkassky Tishki, these Rusko-Lozovaya, Tsirkuny, these towns were reduced to ruins by the time when the Russians were there, because there was artillery duel between this territory and the Kharkiv, and the artillery force from Kharkiv, they ruined this area. And as soon as this offensive operation started, the Russians left this area and moved here to the north, and Ukrainians established control over the ruins. And as soon as that happened, the Russians started to shell this area, and more reports from this area are saying that Ukrainians have a lot of losses in this area. After that, the Ukrainians were forced to move their forces from this area towards Severodonetsk. According to the latest update I have, the Ukrainian forces established their positions, somewhere in this area. So this yellow line is the current Ukrainian position. The main Ukrainian forces located here. The main Ukrainian forces are located in this yellow line. The Russians are on the north. This is their area, and they're controlling this area. The territory between these two lines, between the yellow one and the red one, this blue-gray cloud, is the gray zone, the area where the main heavy clashes are. And as far as I know, this is mainly the territory of commandos fightings, of scouts fightings, and so on. The Ukrainians, they stopped doing any attempt to attack the Russians and to push them from this land. So this is like the stable front line we have right now. The yellow one is the Ukrainian side, and the red one is the Russians. And the Ukrainians, and in those videos when I discussed the Operation Kharkiv, I told you that the best solution for the Ukrainians is to push the Russians till the border and then to retreat towards the Kharkiv and to establish their position somewhere here around the town. So it would be very easy for them to rotate forces, to make some reinforcement. More than that, they will be under the protection of this town. Now let's talk about our Izum, Bridgehead, Liman area, and Slaviansk, and this Donbas Arc operation heart, the Slaviansk and Kramatorsk. Right before I start recording this video, I got the information that the Russians established control over the town Yarova and over the town Shurove. According to the Russian sources, they're saying that they did some breakthrough in this area, but as far as I understand, the Ukrainians retreated from this area as they did exactly in Severodonetsk. They retreated from this area because there was no reason to hold this area anymore. The forces that were located in Yarova and Shuduchive is the rear guard forces, and they did their main job. They helped the forces that were still hiding in this forest to retreat, to cross the river, and there is no reason to keep this area anymore. The same situation with Yarova. Yarova was located right on the edge or right on the front line, so that's why they decided to leave this town towards Svetogorsk. And as far as I understand, in a day or in a two, we're going to see the picture of retreating the Ukrainian force from this area. More than that, we know that the Russians are still trying to reach the Bogorodishne. Bogorodishne is on the hill, so it's not very easy for the Russians to establish control over this town. So just let's update this map according to the information we have right now. So this is the area that is already under the Russians' control. One important update is about town Ozernoye. Yesterday I told you that this town is under the Russians, and this information was confirmed just by the one source. Nobody else confirmed this information that Ozernoye is under the Russians. So I'm not sure that I should update this area as the Russian territory. So let's keep it like this. We see that the territory around Svetogorsk become more and more less. And I think that there is no reason to keep this area, at least in this position. Maybe it's much more easy for these Ukrainian forces to retreat toward this back and to try to establish some fortified position on this side of the river. At least it will be much more reliable. It may bring Ukrainians some success, and it can give them more days. So I think that Ukrainians should start their evacuation towards this area, because this bridgehead is much more important than the bridgehead in this area. If we take a look at Severodonetsk, we see that West Sources map has been updated. We see a lot of updates, and one of the most important update is that half of Severodonetsk is under the Russian control, according to the West Sources map. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, you can see that almost the same picture. If we're talking about Severodonetsk, almost the same picture. You see that the same blocks are under Russian control. The same picture is here. Maybe a few differences, but it's not so important. The most important update is the town Mitolkine. This town is under the Russians. This is the town Mitolkine. So this is our Lysychansk agglomeration, and we see that for less than few days, the Russians established control around 20% of the territory on this side of the Seversky Donetsk River. So they established control over Mitolkine and over the civilian part of Severodonetsk area. So let's update this area according to the update we have. This is the area that is under the Russian control. And more sources are saying that the Ukrainians decided to leave this bridgehead and to move towards Lysychansk. Now the Russians need to decide for themselves what do they need. Do they need to establish control over this town without any losses or casualties from their side? Or they want to push Ukrainian forces and to force Ukrainian forces to run from this area? If they want to just establish control to reduce the casualties and losses, they just need to do their job very slowly and to establish control of the towns over this town block by block. But if they want to encircle some forces or to force some forces to surrender, they need to speed up, and of course they need first to attack Sirotinya, to split this area. I'm not sure that there are a lot of ways how to cross the Seversky Donetsk River. I'm sure that there are some pontoon bridges, but also I'm sure that all these bridges is under the Russian fire control. So first of all, they need to split this area, and after that they need to handle with Borivsky and with the Seversky Donetsk separately. So this is two groups in this area. Of course, Sirotiny is still under Ukrainians, but the Russians, if the Russians are able to attack and establish control over Sirotiny in a day, like by the next evening, it will force Ukrainians to hurry up and to start running, because both these groups might be encircled. Either Severodonetsk group in the industrial zone or Borivske, Voronovye in this zone. But to complete encirclement of Borivske, the Russian forces need to finally establish control over Istinovka and Toshkovka. If we take a look at the Russian sources map, we see that they're still showing us that more than half of Toshkovka is under the Russian control. And according to my timings, the Russians should have established control by this Toshkovka by this evening. So I told you on Sunday that the Russians need to establish control over Toshkovka by the Tuesday evening. And by the way, if you read the Ukrainian military report, they told that they're saying like 2 days in a row, like Monday and Tuesday, that there was and there is very heavy clashes in this area. More than that, I found one map that dated on the 13th of May. This is our Toshkovka, and this Toshkovka is marked with the blue color. And blue color, according to this map, means that the Ukrainians managed to return control over this town, maybe part of this town, maybe entire town. So if we take a look at this map and we update this map according to information we have, this part of Toshkovka, this is the block with certain name, it calls by the name of Chihirova, and this is the Toshkovka, and according to the Russian information, this part of Toshkovka is under the Russians, and there is a small gray zone between these two parts of one small village, Toshkovka. And the Russians are trying to push Ukrainians from Chihirova. And according to the West sources map, the forces from Chihirova even managed to push the Russians from this area. But I didn't got any confirmation or any improvements from the Russian side about this information. So we'll see what's next. And I remind you that according to my timings, the Russians they must establish control over Chihirova by the end of this day, because if they are not able to do this, they will ruin the operation in Severodonetsk of encirclement of Borivske Voronovo group. So this is the region to establish control over, to encircle this group and to encircle this group as well. So this Chihirova, this area, is one of the most important town, one of the most important block in Lysychansk agglomeration. More news is coming from Kamyshovacha. According to the Russian sources, the Russians establish control over more than 40% of Kamyshovacha. So these borders, this front line, I think that represent us the real situation in this area. So the Russians are moving from Alexandropol, from the west side of Kamyshovacha, towards Zolotoye, in this direction. And as far as I understand, they want to split this area into 3 more small cauldrons. I will show you on the map how the Russians are planning to split this area. So they want to split this area into 4 small pieces: Chihirova, Gorskaya, the east part of Kamyshovacha, and Zolotoye. So these 4 small cauldrons, and they're attacking between these towns. They're trying to split this area. So we'll see what's next in this town. But I'm saying you that Chihirova is one of the most important part. There is no updates from our Popasnaya flower. There is no update from Svetlodarsk. There is no update from Avdiivka. There is no updates from Kurakhova. The local fightings, the local battles, the Russians are trying to push Ukrainians along the entire front line. And now let's discuss our Kherson bridgehead. On Sunday we discussed the Kherson offensive operation, and on Sunday I told you that I can't call this operation as an offensive, because I told you that according to the classic offensive operation, there we should expect at least few roads of offensive operation. But on Sunday we saw just one, and the Ukrainians were trying to attack the Russians in the area of David Brod. And as a result of that operation, according to the West sources, the Ukrainians managed to establish control over this area. So this is the territory that the Ukrainians managed to establish control over during the weekend, according to the West sources map. According to the Russian sources, they're saying that the Ukrainians in this area were totally defeated. We saw a lot of pictures, a lot of videos of that attack. More than that, first the Russians showed us this gray line, like saying that something happened there, but they haven't updated this map yet. So for now, I can't tell you that this territory is under the Ukrainians. And that was all about Sunday. The next day, we received more information and more updates regarding this offensive operation. And according to the Ukrainian sources and the Russian sources, the Ukrainians attacked town Nikolaevka, this one. And they established control over this town as well. So we can mark as a line of Ukrainians' attack. More than that, the Ukrainians did one attempt to attack the Russians in this area. And the main idea of this offensive operation was to split this area, as Russian did in their previous operation, as Russian did in Mariupol and Severodonetsk and Popasna. The same situation, the Ukrainians were planning to do the same situation. They wanted to split this area into few pieces. So they were trying to establish control over this town. So by attacking like in this neck, they wanted to cut, and they wanted to connect their forces that were attacking from Davidov Brod and that were attacking from Novovoznetsenskaya, somewhere here. So it's pretty interesting operation. But according to the Russian forces, they failed. More than that, the Russians destroyed this bridge. At least we got this information today. I'm not sure exactly when this bridge was destroyed, but this bridge is destroyed, and the Ukrainian forces that appeared in this back now is under total fire control. And I'm not sure that they are able to escape this area. According to the Russian sources and according to the Ukrainian sources, the Russians started to mine this river, and they're trying to reduce any attempt on any Ukrainian attempt to cross this river in the future. But it's not everything that happened during these days. Also, the Ukrainians tried at the same time, while they were doing the offensive operation in Davidov Brod, in this area, the Ukrainians sent their commanders in this place. I'm not sure what exactly they were planning to do. Maybe they were just wanted to establish some bridges in this area for their commandos operations. As far as I know, they were trying to establish, but their plans were ruined by the Russians. I'm not sure that there is no place to establish control over. There's just a small park or some. There's just, you see that according to the Russian sources map, this town is in the gray zone. It's not under the Russians. It's, as far as I understand, nobody controls this territory. So Ukrainians were trying to cross. They sent there some commandos, but all these commandos were spotted and destroyed. So the Ukrainians were defeated in this area as well. To tell the truth, the idea of this operation was very interesting. As a result of these Kherson operations, the Ukrainians were totally defeated. The forces that were located, that managed to establish control in bridgehead in Davidov Brod, now is splitted from the big land, and there is no way to retreat from this area using the heavy equipment. More than that, the Russians are mining this river, and these forces is in artillery back. And in a day or two, I think that this area will be totally cleared. The Ukrainians managed to establish control over Nikolaevka. This is the only success, and I'm not sure that the Russians are planning to return this town. The Ukrainians' attack towards like splitting attack in this area also were defeated. But according to the Russian sources, I know that Ukrainians are moving more and more forces in this area. We understand that the Russians have some success in Donbas Arc operation. So we can say that this area is weak point of the Russians, and Ukrainians want the Russians to move here some reinforces. So this movement, this regrouping, will give some fresh air to the Ukrainian forces that located in Donbas Arc operation. But let's discuss this offensive operation in more details. So we understand the main idea of Ukrainians in this area is to establish control over the Kherson or to return Kherson. But let's ask ourselves, do you think that Ukrainians are able to return Kherson? It's not the village in the field like Davidov Brod. It's a very small village. If you take a look at this map and take a look at Davidov Brod, there are like a few streets and small buildings. The same situation about Nikolaevka, which is like a small few streets and few buildings. And if we're talking about Kherson, this is a real town, big town with a big population. And to tell the truth, I'm not sure that Ukrainians are able to establish control over Kherson. Maybe they think that as soon as they reach the border or edge of Kherson, the forces, the people in Kherson, like their commandos or the people that support Ukraine, will rise and they will help them to push Russia from this area. I'm not sure about this. The only thing that the Ukrainians can achieve in this area is to establish control over this territory. But even if they are able to establish control over this territory, they won't be able to cross the river. They will have a lot of losses, because in this case we can say that the ratio will be 4-1, because the Russians will defend themselves in this area, and Ukrainians will have to make some offensive operation without air support, without just using the artillery support and the tanks. But we know that artillery means nothing if you don't have some air forces to protect the artillery. They won't be able to cross the river and so on. I must say that the Ukrainians, they need to do offensive operation. They don't have any other option. But if you ask me what is the better solution, the best solution for the Ukrainians, I'll tell you, as I told you in the Sunday videos, that yes, they need to attack towards this area. They need to attack towards this small land. Also, the Ukrainians need to attack Alexandrovka in this area, and they need to try to establish control over this territory. More than that, while doing this offensive operation, the Ukrainians need to attack Bail Island, and they need to try to establish control over this island one more time. But all these operations is not so important. We can say that these offensive operations towards Bail Island, towards this land, towards Alexandrovka, towards these fields, should be like support operation for another offensive operation that Ukrainians should do. Not should do, they can do, and this operation can bring them a lot of success. And this is the operation towards Tokmak, this area. Tokmak is the town that located on the railroad that connects Donbas, Kherson and Crimea. This is one of the most important towns. So the Ukrainians, if they wanted to receive real success, they needed to do all these offensive operations as we discussed right now. And after they involved the Russians in this area, after the Russians moved all the free forces to stop the Ukrainians in this area, the Ukrainians they should start to attack towards Tokmak. And they need to establish control over this territory. Only in this case we can say that offensive Ukrainian operation is successful, because without Tokmak, everything that happens here means nothing. It's just a useless waste of the Ukrainian soldiers' lives. One of the most important area that Russians control in this bridgehead in the south of Ukraine is the town by the name of Tokmak. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Put your likes and enjoy your evening. Bye bye.